everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today is my diary entry for the week of May 29 through 31 and June 1 through 4. So today is June 4th, and it's getting warmer here. I'm not a happy camper because I do not like the heat, so I do have the fans going at the moment, so hopefully you don't hear too much of that. But yeah, summer is quickly approaching, and that doesn't make me happy. But anyway, let me catch you up on how I finished out May. So I believe I had talked to you about Cirque Berserk in my last video. So I did finish one more book before May finished, and that was The Battle of the Labyrinth, which is the fourth book in the Percy Jackson series. I don't think I brought it over because it's just been one of those days. Just so you know, the video I filmed right before this one, I forgot to turn on my microphone, so we'll see if I can salvage that video. But yeah, so Battle of the Labyrinth, the fourth book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, doing a reread with my family on that series. I was supposed to have finished book 5 in the month of May so that we could start the Heroes of Olympus series in June, and so I'm still trying to catch up. Definitely going to get the Battle of the Last Olympian. The Last Olympian? I think that's the 5th book done in May, so that hopefully I can also do the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series, which I think is the Lost Hero, so that we stay on track to finish the Heroes of Olympus series this year. So I did really enjoy my reread of the fourth book. I was kind of surprised that I remembered so much from it, because when I read the third book earlier in May, I thought that maybe I just didn't remember a lot of stuff in that particular installment because there was no movie adaptation for it. But that ended up not being the case, because there's no movie adaptation for the fourth one either, but I still remembered a lot. So I think it's just that the third book in the series is just not my favorite, which is why I didn't remember a lot. But I did remember a lot in the fourth one. Really, really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to finishing up that series in June. So that left me with everything that I finished in May, and then I carried over one of the books that I was reading into June, or a couple. So in June, the first book that I finished was a manga. So I'm participating in the Manga Pride Readathon, which is hosted by Bizarre Individual, Dynamic Dylan, and Rachel Catherine. I'll link that announcement video down in the description box below. But basically, we're just reading LGBTQIA plus manga for the month of June because it is Pride Month. And so I was chatting with my friend Bizarre Individual about some of the titles that I had picked up in my Disis19 Diaries vlog, where I had my manga shopping trip. He had mentioned that he had quite a few of those titles as well, and would I be interested in buddy reading with him? And I said absolutely. So we buddy read The Cat Proposed, which is actually not one that I picked up, but I have Hoopla, which is available for me to access through my library. Hoopla is a digital ebook. I think they also do music and movies and TV. So my library, I have access to all of those things, but I think other libraries may pick and choose what they offer to their clientele. But my library offers ebooks, music, television, and movies to borrow, and I think we get 7 borrows for the month. So that's really great. And I just recently noticed that Tokyo Pop has a lot of their titles on Hoopla for me to borrow for free. So that was great as well. Cat Proposed is a Tokyo Pop manga. It is by Dento Hayane, I think that's how you pronounce the mangaka's name. And this one, I don't even know what the rating is because I don't have a copy of it. But I would probably say it would be older teen, maybe even teen, somewhere in between there. But this one basically follows a guy who is an overworked office employee, and he's just been putting in crazy hours. I think at the beginning of this manga, he says that he worked 18 days straight with no breaks and vacation or anything like that. And he is at the subway stop, and he's just so exhausted that he starts having suicidal thoughts and almost steps off the platform. But he catches himself, and he starts like walking and comes across this place where they're having a traditional Japanese play. So he decides to go in because he hadn't seen one in a while. And while he's watching this play, he gets like so engrossed in it. And then he thinks that he sees the storyteller turn into a cat, like a one that's human-sized, sitting in a kimono being the storyteller. And he like gets freaked out. He thinks, oh my gosh, I'm just so tired. I'm seeing stuff, and rushes out of the playhouse. And because he's so overworked, he kind of passes out. And when he comes to, he actually is in the home of the storyteller. And it turns out that what he saw wasn't just him being tired. The storyteller is actually a bakeneko, or a cat that can transform. And in the bakeneko's like kind of rules, it says that they can't let any humans know about them, and since this guy knows about him, they need to become a couple. So this is a BL, a boys love story, and it basically follows these two trying to navigate this like relationship, and how the office worker, I think his name is Sota, kind of learns about the bakenekos and gets folded into the bakeneko's family and things like that. And so I really, really love this title. Not enough that I'd purchase it for my collection. So I'm glad that I was able to read it from Hoopla. But the art style was gorgeous. It was such an interesting read. I really enjoyed some of the more humorous moments. But yes, it was a very enjoyable read for me. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. But yeah, it's just like a kind of a BL romance with a little bit of a supernatural twist. And I thought it was enjoyable. So definitely one to check out, especially if you have Hoopla and you have this title available to you on there. Definitely check it out on there. A lot of Tokyo Pop's manga is available to read on Hoopla. So yes, so happy to know that a lot of Tokyo Pop's titles are available there for me to read, because that will cut down on my purchasing. But I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed talking to Bizarre about this one. We're definitely going to be doing more buddy reads during the month, so stay tuned for more LGBTQIA plus manga titles for me to talk about during the month. So that was the first thing I read in June. Then I finished Deadlocked Dollhouse, which is the first book in the Locked House Hauntings mystery series, or horror. It's kind of a horror mystery series by Mixie J. Applebottom. This one I borrowed off of Kindle Unlimited, and I had actually intended it to fit in for a prompt for the National Lampoon Vacation Readathon. This one follows a man who is at a thrift shop trying to get a bicycle seat for one of his daughters. He has 2 daughters, but they are very poor, and just buying the bicycle seat for $3 means that he will need to not eat lunch for 2 days. But while he's at the store, he sees this gorgeous dollhouse. And he's thinking to himself, oh, that would be such a great gift for my kids, but it's got to be out of my price range. But he inquires about it anyway, and it ends up that this dollhouse is not much more than the bicycle seat. So he ends up buying the dollhouse and bringing it home as well. Well, that turns out to be the worst mistake he could have possibly made, because as soon as he brings home that dollhouse, things start going bad for him and his family. It ends up that the dollhouse curses anybody who possesses it, and so there are like stages to the curse, and he basically needs to find out how to stop the curse before he turns into a murderous killer. Basically. So yeah, this was a pretty short story. It comes in under 300 pages. I ended up giving it a 3.5 stars. I'm glad that it was available on Kindle Unlimited, because again, this is not one that I would want to have in my collection. I'd recommend it, but I wouldn't reread it. I had a lot of issues with the way that this family's like finances was kind of being shared with us, because like I mentioned, he had to skip lunch for 2 days to buy a $3 car seat. And so for him to purchase this dollhouse, he said he would have to skip lunch for the entire week. Which, okay, I get that. That's set up for us. Like, you know, that's a thing. We see them eating ramen. He has peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. He works in construction to make money for the family. His wife cleans hotel rooms, and that's her job. But somewhere in the book, she loses her job and doesn't want to go back to work. And then they start having these lavish meals, and I don't understand that. How can you go from having to skip your lunch for an entire week because you bought this dollhouse to and eating ramen and having peanut butter jelly sandwiches to having spaghetti with meatballs, with garlic bread, and a side salad and dessert when your wife loses her job? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, I get that spaghetti is not an expensive meal to make. I mean, I get that maybe the hamburger to make the meatballs wasn't very expensive either. You know, but spaghetti and meatballs, that's like a step up from ramen. And if you're just having ramen for dinner, or like instant noodles, which is basically like a quarter a bag, right? You go from that to having spaghetti and meatballs. You don't need to have the side salad and the garlic bread and the dessert. Like, spending all the money for all of those things. Like, let's be real. How much was he gonna have to not eat lunch for her to have served him that one meal? It didn't make sense to me. And then I think she made some kind of other lavish meal for them, and I'm thinking, where is this money coming from when you don't want to go back to work and you've lost your job? Like, that whole thing didn't make sense to me at all. So that really got on my nerves. Like, if you're gonna set up this family to be so poor that he'd have to skip lunch for an entire week in order to spend $5 on this dollhouse, like, how does that make sense for you to have his wife serve a full-blown Italian dinner and not be bringing in income. That really, really like didn't make sense to me. And the further we got on in the book, the more their finances did not make sense to me. So that was a real sticking point for me. And then this family, or not even like this family, but the two adults in this family love to use the F word. Like, there were F-bombs everywhere. And like, for no good reason. It was like they would just like use it in regular conversation just to throw in an F-bomb. Like, I get people talk like that. I don't necessarily enjoy hearing people talk like that. And I can, I don't mind swearing being in the books that I read, but when you have an F-bomb on every page of the book, or at least that's how it felt, I would say there was at least one in every chapter, and these chapters were only a couple pages long, if that. So, yeah, there was a lot of swearing, and the F word was the most prominent one. But other than that, I thought the premise for this story was really good. It got set up really well. The first couple chapters kind of show you how this dollhouse was created. But you don't get the whole curse thing until a little bit later. But obviously, I mean, it's in the summary. So, yeah. I don't know that I'll be continuing with this series. I definitely feel like this book can be read as a standalone. It does have a sample of the second book in the back of it. And that little sample does connect to this story a little bit, but it's the whole summary for the next book is different. So that little snippet in the back is basically what I feel is the only thing that connects this book to that book. And in looking at the summaries for the rest of the books in this series, I do feel like some of them connect, but they're all not like connected in a way where you couldn't, like, say, read a book later on in the series without having to read the first one. Now, I'm the type of person that will usually read through a series without skipping, but there are situations where you could, and I think this is one of those series where you could. I probably won't read the next one, but there are a couple later in the series dealing with a couple other characters that I thought might be interesting. Don't necessarily want to read them right now, but I'm keeping them like in the back of my mind to read at a later date. But again, available on Kindle Unlimited, so if that book sounded interesting to you, definitely check it out. And then the last book that I finished this week was Ghost in the Headlights. This is by Lindsay Duga. I'm reading this one as part of my Rotating Decks TBR game, TBR. This is mentioned as a Sleepy Hollow retelling. I don't really get that, but this story basically follows a girl who is shipped off to her uncle's place. So they used to live really close to her uncle, and her uncle is her dad's brother. Now, her dad passed away years ago, and when that happened, her mom moved her to another state because that's where the job opportunity was for her. And the mother has gotten a really great job offer, but in order to take the job, part of that means that she needs to do some training before she actually starts the job. And because this training is so intensive and her daughter is not yet old enough to be alone, she ships her daughter off to live with her uncle. And so she starts school at this place where she doesn't really remember ever living there because she did move away when she was younger. But she starts noticing something really strange happening on one of the streets that she walks home on, where she sees the ghost of a girl. And when she tries to talk to kids at school about this ghost that she's seen, and she also hears like these noises. The kids are basically like, what are you talking about? And it gets to the point where she's just so like confused as to why she's seeing this, and nobody seems to know anything about it. And then she gets told on, and the principal comes down on her, and it's just a bad time for her. She hates living with her uncle. Her uncle doesn't seem to want her there. She's just having a really bad time. And then it turns out that maybe there's something behind the fact that she can see this ghost. And so this book kind of follows her, figuring out the mystery as to why she's seeing this ghost, what happened to this ghost, and things like that. And I don't really see like the whole Sleepy Hollow tie-in, besides the reoccurring like ghost. But I did find this book interesting. I borrowed a copy from Hoopla. I listened to it on audiobook, and I really enjoyed it. I'll definitely be picking up more from this author. This book had one of those tropes that I dislike, though, which is the trope where you have something in this small town that's happened that people are basically trying to cover up. Nobody wants to talk about it, but everybody knows about it. So when somebody new comes into town and starts noticing these things, they basically treat her like she's crazy, and I hate that trope. Even the adults were like, you know, don't be spreading rumors like that. Why are you talking about stuff that's upsetting other children? And I thought I might have to DNF it. It was so bad at the beginning for me. Plus, she was getting bullied a little bit by some of the kids. And yeah, so in the end, I thought it was really good. There's a mystery within this story that I did really enjoy watching our main character figure out. She does make friends with one of the kids in the school, and he helps to like help her figure out things and supports her. And yeah, you do question some things, but I did really enjoy this book. Like I said, I'll definitely be checking out more by this author. I believe this author has another middle grade horror book coming out later this year, but I did find out that this author also writes some young adult and I think some adult books as well. So I'll be interested to see what kinds of other things this author has to offer. Very much the feeling of K.R. Alexander's Bury Me, which is the book that I had first read in May. And so, yes, I'm looking forward to experiencing more by Lindsay Duga as well as K.R. Alexander. And I ended up giving that one 4 stars. So definitely recommend. Would reread that one, and I probably will pick one up for my collection because I enjoyed it that much. So that's everything I've read up into this point of the month. So 3 things read, one of which was a carryover from May, but because I had only read 20% before June started, definitely going to count that one for Whateverthon. All of the things I've read will count for Whateverthon. The Cat Proposed counts for Manga Pride Reads, and I read everything electronically, so I'm going to count that for Read My e-reader as well. And yeah, so doing good on the 3 readathons I'm participating in this month. As far as television goes, we have watched a few movies. We watched Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters, which I really enjoyed. It is very different from the book, but I still really enjoyed it. So I don't know why it gets so much hate, but I thought it was highly entertaining. So we read that, we watched that. We also watched National Treasure and National Treasure 2. Really enjoyed that one as well. I'm looking forward to the new Disney Plus series on that hopefully they'll pick up where National Treasure 2 left off with the whole page 46 mystery. But yes, really, really enjoyed that. And then last night we watched the Da Vinci Code, and I really enjoyed that one as well. I didn't enjoy the book as much as the movie, but I actually really enjoyed all of the Robert Langdon books by Dan Brown. I think that series also gets a lot of hate, but I enjoy it for what it is. It's entertainment and it's fiction. Like, for me, I don't dig too deep on, like, the whole thing. I'm surprised I enjoyed the Da Vinci Code as much as I do because it's so religious. And I'm not really into reading about religion. I'm not really into watching religion. I'm not religious. Like, I don't practice religion. Like, there are things that I believe, but I don't go to church. So, yeah. I do find that it's surprising that I enjoy the Da Vinci Code so much, but I think it has to do a lot with the fact that I enjoy watching how Robert Langdon's mind works and the fact that it's Tom Hanks. Like, right? So, we will probably continue to watch more of the Robert Langdon movies. I do want to watch the miniseries that's out on Peacock for the third book. We started watching that, but then it got put behind a paywall, so I actually need to buy a month of Peacock in order to watch the Lost Symbol. I think that's what it's called. But yeah, so that's where we are with television. I think the only TV show we have still going on is Kung Fu, which I'm really enjoying, but the main character is kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that season ends. And then as far as knitting goes, my daughter is graduating from college in a little over a week. So I've been working on her graduation socks. I did finish one of those socks last night while we were watching movies. And so this is her first sock. You can kind of see a little bit if I get closer that there's the cable here and the broken rib. So this sock will actually have an opposite side because of the cable. So this cable will be the one on the outside. This is actually her right sock. So the left sock will have the cable on this side, but this back side here is just broken rib, square heel turn, and the umbrella toe. So this sock is actually the Dunbrock by Kay Jones from the Bakery Bears podcast. This is the first thing I finished in months. So, yeah. I have 1 week to do one more sock. I think that's doable because I have done it before in Sock Week, which Nitty Natty hosts during Shark Week. And yes, so at least I didn't lose my touch. I can still knit a sock. It's been quite a while since I've knit a sock. So I think it came out great. I'm loving that tweed. It's awesome. So I don't think you can see the cable too much. It's just a braid, pretty much. But my daughter's happy with it. And if she's happy, I'm happy. So that's all that matters. So one more sock so that she can wear these for graduation. And yes, so this is going to be the main focus. But I've been doing well, like I said, on my readathons. And actually, I think one of the prompts for Whateverthon is guilt-free activity. And so my guilt-free activity was last night knitting and watching movies instead of reading. Because I really should be reading more. But I've been concentrating on getting that sock done. So one more sock to go. Need to get it done next week. So I will check in with you again on the 11th. If I don't check in with you before then during my diary entry for next week. But anyway, that's pretty much all I've got for you for this week. Let me know down in the comments below what readathons you're participating in the month of June. How many books have you read so far? Are you doing well on your readathon progress? And have you watched any movies recently? Let me know that as well. Are you going to be watching the new Jurassic Park movie? I think we are going to wait. I don't think we're actually going to see it in theaters. Movies turn around so fast nowadays, from movie theater to purchasing the Blu-ray or renting. And so, yeah, I don't know. I haven't talked to my family yet about the whole drive-in movie theater thing. My dad's coming into town for our daughter's graduation, so I'll get to see him. Lots of things going on. I will be going on vacation, so next week I will also be kind of wrapping up my desk for my week vacation afterwards. But yes, looking forward to vacation. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below again how you're doing on your reading this month, what readathons you're participating in. Have you seen any really good movies lately? And if nothing else, you would just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me a yarn ball emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated and will really help me out. Don't forget to like this video and comment down below, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy, and until next time, take care and smile always. Bye!